So we will pay homage to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. So today we will talk about Anapanasati again, mindfulness of breathing. As we have explained 2 parts of Anapanasati before, now we have to continue talking about nimitta. So we have already answered the questions that many people ask whether it's possible to attain jhana without nimitta or not. And last week we have already explained 3 types of nimitta and then 3 types of bhavana. So another thing is the object of jhana is nimitta. It must be concept. So here we have many different types of nimitta according to our perception. So there are different types of nimitta according to the perceptions of the practitioners. Actually, we have already known the one before. So they are like a star, like a cluster of gems, like a cluster of pearls, like 6 cotton seeds. Also, it be like a pack made of hardwood. Also, like a long braid of string, like a wreath of flowers, like a puff of smoke, and a stretch of cobweb, and like a flame of clouds, and like a lotus flower, like a chariot wheel, and like a moon disk and the sun disk. These are mentioned in Visuddhimagga. Actually, it may also mention many other types of nimitta according to the perceptions of meditators. So we may have different types of nimitta. We cannot say exactly. Also, similarly, the color. We can just say general nimitta. We cannot say in detail that much because our mind is very complicated. So today we have calmness of the mind. Even last few hours ago, we may have calmness of the mind, but now we are not sure. Mind is changing easily, very quickly, very rapidly. That is why we cannot say the signs or maybe the color, the shape of nimitta exactly. So here we just mention the general explanations of general appearance of nimitta. So for example, in Visuddhimagga, it also mentioned there are some bhikkhu, they will see nimitta like a, like a mountain range, like a forest, something like that, right? Like a forest, a range of forest, something like that. So it depends on our perceptions. It will be very much different. A few years ago, I have known or I have heard from some my senior, let me very senior Sierra. He talked about one tradition in Myanmar, especially about nimitta. There's a one bhikkhu. He learned from his meditation teacher. His meditation teacher taught him how to play with the nimitta. Then every day he reported his teacher. He also note down whatever teacher said to him, whatever teacher gave new instructions. Then after 6 years, you can imagine how thick the box will be. It will be as like a pillow, right? Very thick one. 6 years, he note down all his experience taught by his teacher. So every day he plays nimitta, then the shape, the color, the location of nimitta will be different every day. So, okay, in Visuddhimagga, it can mention only general appearance of nimitta. It cannot explain all types of nimitta. Actually, nobody can explain all types of nimitta because it will be very messy and very complicated. As soon as our perception change, the nimitta will change. That is why we cannot say exactly. But then here, all the possibility is mentioned in the Visuddhimagga. Then we also have another stanza. Nimitte tapayan citam nanakaram vibhavayam diro asasa pasase sakantitan nibandati. That is the stanza. So, okay, nimitte tapayan citam, fixing the mind on the nimitta. Nimitte is in the nimitta or on the nimitta. Tapayami, keeping or putting the mind or fixing the mind. Citta is the mind, right? So, fixing the mind on the nimitta. Nanakaram vibhavayam. Nanakarami, different aspects. Vibhavayami, putting away or putting aside. So there I have in the blanket I mentioned, as mentioned, 4 aspects. What does it mean 4 aspects? Actually, when we talk about anapanasati, the first set of 4, we have already learned 4 types: long breath, short breath, whole breath body, and tranquilizing the breath. We have 4 aspects already. So the wise binds his mind together with the breath. That is the translation of this stanza. So in this statement, in this context, we can understand that in the very beginning of the practice, we must focus on the breath. As we have mentioned, there are 4 aspects: long breath, short breath, whole breath body, and also subtle breath or tranquilizing the breath. Gradually, when our breath becomes very subtle, the nimitta will become very bright. Now, when nimitta becomes very obvious and very bright, the meditator must focus on the nimitta by putting away of the breathing. This is the meaning of the stanza. So from time to time, we can experience from meditators, especially according to their reports. Sometimes when nimitta become very powerful, very bright and very brilliant, also very strong and powerful, we cannot feel the breath anymore. Then our minds will naturally focus on the breath. This is really, really very important for us to use, to know the situations. So we can focus on the breath naturally. Then gradually, when our mind naturally or automatically know the nimitta, keep focus on the nimitta. Don't think about the breath anymore. So that is why from time to time, when the meditator asks me, what is your instruction in brief? I just say only 2 things. In anapanasati, there are only 2 things you have to know. As long as you can know the breathing, focus on the breath. Then when your nimitta becomes very strong and very powerful, you cannot know the breath anymore. At the time, you must focus on the nimitta. So in brief, you can focus only in 2 things, the breathing or the nimitta. That's the brief instructions of anapanasati. So that means when we are focused on the breath, don't think about any other things. Whatever we feel or we experience or then we may encounter, don't follow any good experience or bad experience. When you see the light also, don't think about the light. Don't follow the light. When nimitta appear also, as long as we can know the breathing, don't think about nimitta. Keep focus on the breath. Gradually, nimitta will become very strong and powerful. At the time, we don't need to know the breath anymore. Although we're trying to focus on the breath, it's unclear, not very obvious. Now our mind will naturally go to the nimitta, then focus on it. When we can absorb on the nimitta, that means it's a jhana. Okay, so in this statement, we can also understand that in this stanza, we can also understand that we must focus on the breath in the very beginning. Later, we must focus on the nimitta when it becomes very obvious. Okay, now we have to move to Vipassana. So we have to understand something about Vipassana for Vipassana vehicle. So if we cannot attain jhana, we may have only asset concentration. Now we can also proceed practicing Vipassana. So what will be the steps to continue practicing Vipassana? Of course, if we have attained jhana, then we can practice with samatha vehicle based on jhana. We can also practice many different methods. Okay, now for about Vipassana vehicle, we should start with very simple things. Okay, now the first one, the in and out breath arises depending on the base. The base is produced by the produced body, the Karaja Kaya, that comprise of 4 primary elements and derived materialities. Of course, we have to discern 4 elements as the basics. If we can discern 4 elements clearly, then if we can discern space on the body, we call Akasa Dhatu, space element. But we can also see Rupa Kalapas. We can also discern all other materialities in the Rupa Kalapas, together with 4 elements. So this is the discerning the materialities. So when we have materialities, the next steps, we have to practice discerning mentality. So these materialities are the object of contact, phassa, feeling, vedana, perception, sanya, volition, cetana, consciousness, vijnana, so which are called phassa panchamaga. So briefly, we can understand 5 aggregates or namarubats. We have to start with 4 elements and also derived materialities. After that, we can also take the breathing as an object. Nimitta is actually mind produce materialities. We have to understand like that. So when we are practicing samatha, we cannot know mind produce materialities, but we have to know only concept. If we know ultimate reality, we cannot attain jhana. So now, when we are practicing vipassana, we have to start discerning breathing and breathing out as mind produce materialities. Then also there are many other karma produce materialities that arise together with breathing. There are temperature produce materialities, nutriment produce materialities. We have to discern all types of materialities as the basics. Then we also have to discern taking breathing or taking nimitta as objects. There are a series of mind moments. So they arise. So we have to discern all the mental factors together with consciousness, and we have to break down the competitiveness, knowing and seeing or discerning the mental process. If we can break down the competitiveness, we may have very strong perceptions of anicca, because momentary arising and perishing. We can also understand anicca, impermanence. We can also know dukkha, suffering, clearer. So we can also understand anatta, non-self, is out of our control. Okay, briefly, in the very beginning, we will discern nama and rupas, or maybe 5 aggregates according to our conditions. Then we have to proceed the next steps, okay, discerning their causes. The next slide, maybe. The next slide. Discerning their causes, we call the dependent origination. He overcomes doubt about present, past, and future existences. Okay, here we have to understand a little bit more about dependent origination. So first we have to know nama rupas. When we are going to discern their causes, some of the causes are from the past lives. For example, karma produce materialities. Their causes will be from the past lives. So we have to discern about the past lives, their past causes. Then, if we can discern past causes and present results, we can overcome and talk about the past. So from time to time, we may have to talk about our past lives or past existences, whether we have been born in the past or not. But after discerning, or after understanding or seeing with our own knowledge or direct knowledge, no more doubt about the past. So after discerning different originations, we must overcome doubt about the past, present, and the future. So after that, we can also understand no man, no being, no persons. There are only causal rising of mentality and materialities. Actually, these two are the foundations of Vipassana. The first part, we have to discern namas and rupas. After that, we have to discern cause apprehending knowledge. We can also say the arising, cause arising of nama rupas. This is the second stage of Vipassana. After that, then if we can contemplate the mentality and materialities together with their causes as impermanent, as we know anicca, suffering, dukkha, and non-self, then we can develop our insight. When insight knowledge becomes very mature, we can attain headship. So these are for Vipassana vehicle. Then similar thinking applying for Samatha vehicle, a little bit different. So for example, jhana mentality arises depending on the basis. Right? We have to discern mentality first. So for jhana practitioners, we have two options. We can start with rupa meditation, or we can start with nama meditation. More options, more choice. So after emerging from jhana, we have to discern jhana mentalities. After discerning mentality, we also have to discern their basis. The basis is produce body, karaja kaya, that comprise of 4 primary elements and direct materialities. It will be the same as before. The discernment is the materiality. Also, mentality are the object of contact, feeling, vedana, perception, sanya, and volition, jirana, and consciousness, vijnana. They are also called phassa pancamaka, same as before. So briefly, it will be slightly different. Based on asset concentration, we have to start with rupa meditation. But when we attain jhana, we can start with either one, from 4 elements or from jhana, nama, dhamma. So this basis will be different. But for about higher practice, it will be same to previous one, discerning their causes, right? Maybe the next slide, maybe. Okay, discerning their causes, and different originations, and also overcome about the doubt about the past, present, and future, and so forth. It will be same to previous practice. Then, briefly, so based on anapanasati, in the first set of 4, Pasambayam Kaya Sankaram, tranquilizing the breath, this one cover all the process of Vipassana, including basic jhana and also up to headship. But the board also continues talking about the second set of 4. The Piti Samvedi, Asasisa Sikati, Piti Samvedi, Pasasisa Sikati. That means I shall breathe in, experiencing rapture, thus he trains. I shall breathe out, experiencing rapture, thus he trains. This is the first set, the first one. Then we have two. This one. I shall, that means Sukha Bri Samvedi, Asasi Samvedi Sikkati, two, okay? Sukha Bri Samvedi, Asasi Samvedi Sikkati, Sukha Bri Samvedi, Basasi Samvedi Sikkati. I shall breathe in, experiencing bliss. Thus he trains. I shall breathe out, experiencing bliss. Thus he trains. This is the second. Then four, or the three. Citta Sankara Bri Samvedi, Asasi Samvedi Sikkati, Citta Sankara Bri Samvedi, Basasi Samvedi Sikkati. I shall breathe in, experiencing the mental formation. Thus he trains. I shall breathe out, experiencing the mental formation. Thus he trains. Then again, four. I shall breathe in, tranquilizing the mental formation. Thus he trains. I shall breathe out, tranquilizing the mental formation. Thus he trains. In Pali, Pasambayan Citta Sankara, Asasisamiti Sikkati. Pasambayan Citta Sankara, Pasasisamiti Sikkati. So these four, if we roughly overview, the first one is Piti Piti Samvedi, rapture. Sukha Piti Samvedi, bliss. Citta Sankara, mental formations. The other one is Citta Sankara, tranquilizing Citta Sankara, mental formation again. So in this part, when we talk about the first one, Piti Piti Samvedi, with the next slide. So we have to understand how many jhana associated with Piti. Actually, we have already talked about jhana factors in the very beginning of Kasina, especially when we talk about the first jhana in Kasina. So the first jhana and in the second jhana, Piti will arise. Entering the first jhana and the second jhana, imagine from one of those two jhanas. He descends, destructions and aberration of rapture associated with wisdom. Then while practicing insight meditations, he experienced the natural and general characteristics of rapture with known confusion. Okay, here we have to talk about one more thing about it. So that means from the second set of four and the third set of four, the fourth set of four, all these are about vipassana. So when we are practicing samatha, we must not think about rapture. We must not focus on the rapture. Don't get confused with it. So again here, after attaining jhana, we can practice the second set of four. If we haven't attained any jhana yet, we cannot do this practice. So these are only for jhana practitioners. So entering the first jhana and the second jhana, as we have mentioned before, we can discern jhana nama dhammas, mentality first. After that, we can discern materialities. So I've already mentioned all the mentality arises depending on the basis. It's called Karaja Kaya, produce bodies. Also 4 elements and direct materialities. After discerning all the things, as I have mentioned before in Samatha Vehicle methods, we have to proceed cause and effect relationship discernment to overcome doubt about the past, present, and future. After that, we can contemplate them. That means Namarupas together with their causes as impermanent, suffering, non-self. So these are the Piti Piti Samvedi for practitioners. So here it mentioned we have to experience natural and general characteristics of rapture. Natural, we can say, natural means the natural characteristic of rapture. Also, general characteristics means anicca, dukkha, anatta. This means non-confusions. We call asamoha samajanya. So sometimes people also ask me, what is it called samajanya? Clear comprehension. But here, non-confusion. That means asamoha samajanya. So although we talk about rapture, rapture alone cannot arise. It will arise together with associated mental factors. But emphasize focus on rapture, we can also know all other mentalities that arise together with rapture, PT. Now we have to contemplate all types of mentalities and materialities as anicca, dukkha, anatta. So this is the practice of PT Purification. Okay, now the next one, Sukha Purification. So Sukha Purification, in this case, when we talk about Sukha Purification, we also have to understand how many jhanas associated with Sukha. Here I have already mentioned the first jhana, the second jhana, and the third jhana associated with Sukha, the bliss. As we have learned before, the fourth jhana will associate with upekkha, equanimity. That is why here when we talk about Sukha Purification, that means we must enter into the first jhana, or entering into the second jhana, or entering into the third jhana. We can enter one of these three jhana. Imagine from one of these three jhanas, as we have mentioned before, we can discern nama dhamma mentality, rupa dhamma materialities, and their causes, and continuous practicing vipassana. So here I have to introduce a few more things about vipassana. In every jhana or every vipassana, we may have foundations jhana. We call embodied pataka jhana, foundation jhana. The foundation jhana can be the first jhana, the second jhana, the third jhana. In the case of Sukha Purification. When we talk about Purification, it can be the first jhana and the second jhana. Anyway, so we may have different foundation jhanas. Also, we have like a samasana jhana, samasita jhana. There are some special jhana. We will contemplate that as anicca, dukkha, anatta. That one is called samasita jhana. So we have to understand these two as a basics. So foundation jhana can be any of them. And we are going to discern anicca, dukkha, anatta. It also can be the first jhana. It also can be the second jhana. Second jhana, nama dhamma. The third jhana, nama dhamma, something like that. So this is called Sukha Purification. So here also, although we say Sukha, bliss, or happiness, or joy, Sukha alone cannot arise. It will arise together with associated mental factors. We have to discern all types of mentalities that arise together with the bliss. But we must emphasize focus on the bliss together with all other dhamma. Now, Citta Sankhara Purification. So here we just don't say Citta Sankhara. Also mention here, Citta Sankhara means the feeling aggregates and the perception aggregates that arise together with the Citta. So imagine from the first jhana, the second jhana, the third jhana, the fourth jhana, it refer to all types of jhana. Because Citta will arise together with all types of jhana. Feeling will arise together with any types of jhana. Perception will arise together with any types of jhana. That is why it covers 4 jhana in the case of Anapanasati. So sometimes we can misunderstand Citta Sankhara means only the consciousness. In reality, not only consciousness. There can be feeling aggregates or perception aggregates that arise together with the citta. Okay, briefly, it can be the same as before. Any jhana can be the foundations of vipassana. Now we can also contemplate any jhana, nama, dhamma as anicca, dukkha, anatta. But we might emphasize focusing on citta, the consciousness. This is called citta sankhara parisamvedi. Okay, now we may have the next one. Pasambayam citta sankharam. So Bhadama citta is a tranquilizing mental formation. So that means it can be any types of mental formations. So when we talk about 4 satipatthana, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, this set of 4, that means the second set of 4 explains, emphasizes in feeling contemplation. So in Anapanasati also, we can practice 4 satipatthana. From time to time, people also ask, how can we practice 4 foundations of mindfulness by practicing Anapanasati? Even a few weeks ago, there's one question like that. Anyway, the main thing is the first set of 4 are same to Kayanupassana Satipatthana. Now, the second set of 4 with Anupassana Satipatthana, feeling contemplation. Okay, so we will continue the third set of 4. Unsure breathing, experiencing the mind that he trains. That means citta parisamvedi, asasisamiti sikati. Citta means the mind. Parisamvedi means experiencing or understanding deeply. The unsure breathe out, experiencing the mind that he trains. Citta parisamvedi, asasisamiti sikati. Then 2. Abhimodayam cittam asasisamiti sikati. Abhimodayam cittam asasisamiti sikati. Unsure breathing in gladdening the mind that he trains. Unsure breathe out, gladdening the mind that he trains. This also we call abhimodayam, gladdening the mind. Actually, we have already explained how to gladden the mind, right? So that means by development like a Piti Sambhojjhanga and so forth, we can gladden our minds, right? Okay, now we may have the next one, 3. So in the case of 3, it mentions Samadhan citta asasisamiti sikati, Samadhan citta pasasisamiti sikati. Unsure breathing, concentrating the mind that he trains. Unsure breathe out, concentrating the mind that he trains. That is the third one. Okay, one more thing I have to remind you. Whenever we are going to talk about momentary concentration, remember this passage. Don't forget this passage. The third set of 4, number 3. In this part, we can find the momentary concentrations. Later I will explain it. Okay, now 4. Vimojjayam cittam asasisamiti sikati. Vimojjayam cittam pasasisamiti sikati. Unsure breathing, liberating the mind that he trains. Unsure breathe out, liberating the mind that he trains. So that means that is the 4th set. Vimojjayam means liberating the mind. So we have to continue the next one. We have to explain one by one for all these 4. Vimojjayam, after that we have to continue citta parisamvedi. We have to explain one by one all these that set of 4. Maybe the next slide. 𝐸𝐴. So as we have mentioned before, Citta means consciousness. So consciousness can arise together with any types of jhana. That's why here we mentioned. So entering the first, the second, the third, and the fourth jhana. Then, as we have mentioned before, we can emphasize focus on the Citta, consciousness. Then we can practice vipassana. And second one is Abhimodaya and Citta. Entering the first jhana, the second jhana. We can also proceed practicing. Right? Gladness means like also similar to rapture. We have to make our mind happy. That means like gladness, like rapture, joy. Similar to previous one. So, okay, these steps refer to samatha and vipassana. We have to understand this one. Abhimodaya and Citta. So from time to time, we have to make our mind gladden by entering into jhana, samatha practice. Especially when our mind become very dull or very like inactive or lazy or sluggish. We can also develop the element factor of rapture. Then also we can also enter into the jhana for resting. After that, we can continue practicing vipassana. Okay, briefly, this step refer to samatha and vipassana. So this is the second part, right? Okay, now I think you are waiting for asset concentrations. Oh, sorry, momentary concentration. So samadhan citta. Concentrating on, let me samadhan citta means we have already mentioned, right? This is also concentrating the mind, right? So in this part, it mentioned we can find the explanations of momentary concentrations as mentioned. And so now we have to introduce part by part. Here I have already translated Pali and English together. Samadhan cittanti patama janati vasena aramane cittan sama ajahando sama tapendo. Samadhan citta means evenly placing the mind on the object by the power of the first jhana, etc. Yadami, Patama jhana ati vasena, Patama jhana ati vasena. Ati means etc. and so forth. So it also can be the second jhana, right? By the power of the second jhana, by the power of the third jhana, by the power of the fourth jhana, also can be by the power of immaterial jhana. It can be any kind of jhana. So again, next page. Tani Vapana Janani Samabhajitawa Hutaya Jana Sambayudan Jidan Kayado Wayado Sampasanto Sampasato. Here means Vapana means in other words. So previous one just mentions evenly placing the mind on the object by the power of the first jhana. That was not very clear. That's why these elaborations. Entering those jhana, that means entering into the first jhana, the second jhana, the third jhana, the fourth jhana, or any jhana, because here we talk about anapanasati. That's why we just talk about four jhana. Then imagine from them, let me imagine from any of those jhanas. While contemplating jhana minds and its associated mentalities, here, jhana sambayudan citan. Citan means consciousness of the mind. Jhana sambayudan means associated with the jhana. Kaya vayado, kaya means decay or destruction. Vaya means perishing. As destructions and perishings. So when we are contemplating like that, then Vipassana kane lakana bati vedena obasati kanika jite kakata. At the time of momentary concentration, at the time of insight, the momentary concentration arises, realizing the three characteristics. So which means when we are entering into the first jhana, at the time is a samatha. Imagine from it, when we start discerning ultimate reality, like a mentality and materialities, at the time we have to know momentary arising and appearance of namas and rupas. We are not in the jhana anymore. After that, we have to discern cause and effect relationship. Also, we have to know momentary arising and appearance. When we are contemplating that as anicca, dukkha, anatta, it also momentary concentrations. So here it mentioned, when we are practicing insight meditations, imagine from the jhana, there's a call momentary concentrations. So many people just trying to pick up the last part. Vipassana kane, lakana bati vedena, obajati, kanika chitti kakata. At the time of insight, momentary concentration arises, realizing the three characteristics. They just cut that part and misunderstand. When we practice vipassana, any kind of vipassana can experience momentary concentrations. So be careful. Momentary concentration is not that easy. Without attaining jhana, we cannot have momentary concentrations. So one more thing here, we have to understand, what about asset concentration? Of course, asset concentration is also strong enough like the first jhana, right? So that is why if we categorize the right concentration, there are only two types of concentration, asset concentration and absorption concentrations. These two are called the purifications of the mind. Not only that, we can also understand they are the foundations of vipassana. They are basis of vipassana. Without that foundations, we cannot practice. So that means if we can attain asset concentration, we must enter into asset concentrations. Imagine from asset concentrations, we have to discern ultimate materialities first, the four element meditations. Also, like direct materialities. After that, discerning the nama dhamma, as we have mentioned before. When we are discerning nama rupas and their causes, and also they arise and pass away as anicca, dukkha, anatta, then we can say at the time there is a momentary concentrations. So, okay, here we have, in other words, there are absorptions in the objects and absorption in the characteristics according to samatha vipassana. Here, I didn't mention the source because we can find this one. Actually, previous in previous slide we have already mentioned the Pali source. We can find all these source in Visuddhimagga, Book 1, page 281, Buddhisammadamagga Atthakatha, Book 2, page 101. Also, we have Vinaya commentary, Samana commentary, Book 2, page 34. So we can learn all these things, okay, in these three commentaries, especially about momentary concentrations. Sorry. So here, when we talk about absorptions in objects, in Pali we call aramanupa nichana. They also translate as aramana, the object scrutiny. But here I just translate as absorption in objects. That means lakhanupa nichana, as aramanupa nichana. Because in the case of jhana, we have to take only one object. When our mind can absorb on it, this is called jhana. In the case of vipassana, we call lakhanupa nichana. Lakhana means the characteristics of ultimate mentality or materialities. So when we are focusing on the characteristics of mentalities and materialities, when our mind can absorb on it, that is called Lakhanupani jhana, the characteristic scrutiny. Then we can also understand like a path and fruition knowledge. It will take Nibbana as object. This is also Lakhanupani jhana. When a noble person enter into fruition attainment, this is also Lakhanupani jhana. We can also say momentary concentration. So, but their mind will keep knowing Nibbana as object. Only that one will be different. Okay, the main thing is, in the case of samatha, we can say Aramanupani jhana, absorption in an object. In the case of vipassana, Lakhanupani jhana, and absorptions in the characteristics of ultimate reality. So these are also called momentary concentrations. So when we are knowing the characteristics of nama rupas and their arising and passing away, momentary arising and passing away, we can say momentary concentration at the time. So momentary concentration is also powerful and strong enough like a jhana, because by the power of jhana, he can discern all the nama rupas. Their mind can absorb on the characteristics of nama rupas. That's why it's also strong enough like a jhana. We call Lakhanupani jhana. Also same to momentary concentration. Okay, then the next one, we have to continue this one. 𝐕𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐚 𝐡𝐢𝐻𝐿. Okay, here liberating the mind, unsure breathe in, unsure breathe out. We have this kind of statement here. So the mind is liberated from hindrances by the first jhana. Actually, we have already explained the jhana factors can eradicate, right, all types of hindrances. Also, liberated from initial applications and certain implications by the second jhana. So our mind will be liberated from initial applications and certain implication by the second jhana. So again, liberated from rapture by the third jhana. So by the power of the third jhana, our mind will be liberated from rapture. Liberated from the pleasant and unpleasant feeling by the fourth jhana. As we have already known, in the fourth jhana, we have equanimity. Yeah, equanimity means we don't have attachment, or we don't have happiness or unhappiness, pleasant or unpleasant. Equanimous mind toward the object. So 𝐕𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐿 𝐶𝐻𝐿 also means we have to enter into every single jhana, discerning jhana dhamma, especially here focus on the mind, right? Actually later we have to explain that one as like a Cittanupassana, mind contemplation. So in this insight, okay, the next slide maybe. In the insight, the mind is liberated from the perceptions of permanence by contemplating impermanence. Of course, if we know momentary arising and perishing, we can know this anicca, impermanence. This is also really very important. We have to know all the things. They are arising and perishing very rapidly. Also, we can also understand momentary arising and perishing. The clearer the momentary arising and perishing, the stronger perceptions of impermanence. When we know impermanence, sure, we also can be free from the perceptions of impermanence. So liberated from the perceptions of pleasure by contemplating suffering. So that means destructions of mentalities. So like a perishing or passing away of mentalities. Okay, for example, if we pass away every moment, it's undesirable, right? Nobody wishes to die, but we are passing away every moment. This is suffering. We cannot see that kind of suffering with our naked eye, but we can see with our Western eyes. This is called Parichana Dukkha. It's covered by delusion or illusion. When we can remove delusions, then we can see it clearly. Okay, anyway, our mind can be free from the perceptions of pleasure when we are contemplating all the namarupas as anicca, and as a suffering. So the mind is liberated from the perceptions of self or sorrow by contemplating non-self. So again, here we have to explain about non-self a little bit more because it will be very deep and very profound. Non-self also means out of our control. For example, all the namarupas, their arising and aberration is out of our control. This is also called non-self. Then we got this also like emptiness, sunyata or sunya. So no ultimate, that means no essence, right? That means emptiness, because passing away all the time. This is also called non-self. So when we have the perceptions of non-self very clearly, then we can overcome the perceptions of self or soul. In reality, if we can break down the competitiveness, we can already know this is non-self. We just know the functions of all the ultimate realities, forming as a human being, working as human being, or working as a being. Anyway, so now our mind will be liberated from delight by contemplating distraction, nibbida. That means if we have dispassion, so we cannot feel happy. We may not delight in sensual pleasure because we know these namarupas are undesirable, right? We may have dispassion. But later we have to explain about dispassion in the vipassana again. Okay, our minds are liberated from attachment by contemplating detachment. Also, here we say like viraga, in Pali it's a viraga. Viraga means fading away. We also under like a fading away, right? So let me, here when we talk about viraga, we should talk about only detachment. It will be much better because mind will be free from attachments. So not only that, if we contemplate only fading away also, our mind will be free from attachments. We can also understand like that. So we mean like a voidness or devoid. Raga means attachment, the devoid of attachments. So viraga also give me like a fading away. That's why we can understand two different ways. Anyway, next one, our mind will be liberated from arising by contemplating. Now you finished, previous one? Previous slide, now you finished? Liberated from arising by contemplating cessation, nirodha. So, okay, when we talk about nirodha, here we have only the cessation moment. We have like a, there are cessation, they will not arise anymore. This is one thing. Also, they are also after cessation, it will arise again. They can be two different things, right? So that means by contemplating as a cessations, then our mind will be free from the arising. So liberated from grasping by contemplating relinquishments in Pali Patinisaka. So we may have different types of Patinisaka. Later we have to explain that one again. Okay, the next one, the fourth set of four. The next slide. They are mentioned anicca nubasi asasisa miti sikati, unsure breathing, contemplating impermanence as he trains. Anicca nubasi asasisa miti sikati, unsure breathe out, contemplating impermanence as he trains. 2. Viraga nubasi asasisa miti sikati, unsure breathing, contemplating fading away, thus he trains. Viraga nubasi basasisa miti sikati, unsure breathe out, contemplating fading away, thus he trains. Here I already mentioned viraga also can be detachment. Viraga also can be fading away, right? Then 3. Nirodhanupassi, Asasisa Sikkati, Nirodhan, actual breathing, contemplating cessation, thus he trains. Nirodhanupassi, Pasasisa Sikkati, actual breathe out, contemplating the cessation, thus he trains. 4. Parinissakanupassi, Asasisa Sikkati, actual breathing, contemplating relinquishment, thus he trains. Parinissakanupassi, Pasasisa Sikkati, actual breathe out, contemplating relinquishment, thus he trains. So in reality, we have already talked about these things in our previous part, that set of 4. But here, this is just elaborations of this part again. Okay, first we have to start with anicca nupassi. The next slide. So when we talk about anicca, arising, variation, changing of the 5 aggregates. So here we just talk about 5 aggregates. Actually, it also can be nama-rupa methods, 12-base methods, 18 elements methods. It also can be different originations. It also can be the many different types of practice. Later in the Vipassana chapter, we have to explain all these things again. Anyway, when we talk about anicca nupassi, contemplating as anicca, that means we have to know the arising states, the aberration states, or the changing of 5 aggregates. So that means after arising, it change, turn into the aberration states. So similarly, viraga nupassi, fading away. So there are 2 types of fading away here. Kaya viraga, destructions. Achanda viraga, absolute fading away. So in other words, there are momentary fading away and totally fading away. Those are the name of insight and path knowledge. Okay, here I have to elaborate a little bit more about it. So kaya viraga, destruction. We can say like a momentary fading away. So when we are practicing vipassana, we can also see momentary fading away of ultimate mentalities and materialities. This is called kaya viraga. So, but when we can attain attitude, then we may see, our mind will take nirvana as an object, or when we enter bring nirvana, then it will fade away. All the namarupa will fade away totally, no more arising, totally cessation. So the main thing is, in the case of bring nirvana, it's called absolute fading away, no more arising anymore. Then again, we have to continue the next part. Nirodhanupassi, same as a viraga. So here also we have like a, when we talk about nirodha, the cessation, we can also understand momentary cessations and ultimate cessation, or totally fading away or totally cessation. We can also say absolute cessation. Then again, when we talk about nirodha, we have always said nirodhanupassi, right? So in this case, we have to say only cessations of nama-rupa, because it's like present will are nama-rupas. When we are practicing vipassana, actually, I think many of meditators have known this kind of practice. Although you haven't experienced yet, you may have known something about Udayabhaya Jnana, right? Okay, the knowledge of rising and aberration. There are mentions many different ways of arising states. We have to discern. Also, we have to discern many different types of aberration states. After that, we also like a Bhanga Jnana. Bhanga means only aberration states. So when we are practicing vipassana, we have to know momentary arising and aberration way of nama-rupas. Later, the arising and aberration become very strong and also very rapid, then finally we cannot catch the rising state anymore. Our knowledge or our wisdom can catch only perishing stage. This is called Bhanganyana, the knowledge of perishing. Then we can also say this is also called momentary perishing. It just know only perishing states. In every single moment, just knowing perishing states. So gradually later, when our inside knowledge becomes very strong and powerful, then we can also know absolute passing away, absolute cessations of nama rupas. This is called Nirodhanupasi. Okay, now again, Pati Nisaka Nupasi, relinquishment. So contemplating by insight and path knowledge again. So here we have to explain two different things again. Parinisaka Nupasi means there are two types of relinquishment. Okay, maybe the next slide. This will be the last part, maybe, for today. So here, Parichaga, Patinisaka, we call in Bali. So let me give it up. Parichaga means giving up. It's the name of contemplating insights and noble paths. Tatanga and Samucheda. Tatanga means we can like a temporary or present. So when we are contemplating as anicca dukkha anatta, we can give up the defilements called Tatanga Bahana. We can abandon. Also abandon by operation of not Samucheda Bahana, abandoned by uprooting, totally cut off, totally relinquished, or totally eradicated. So here, Parichaga, that means we have to give up all types of defilements by the power of insight knowledge. This is called Tatanga Bahana. So actually, not only in Samatha, also not only in Vipassana, in Samatha also, we can contemplate, we can also subside the defilements. We can also oppress the defilements. Then we cannot uproot. By the power of insight knowledge also, we cannot uproot, but we can subside the defilements. When we can attain the path and fruition knowledge, different path and fruition knowledge will eradicate different types of defilements according to the conditions we have. Our insight knowledge become mature. Then four paths and four fruition knowledge will eradicate gradually. At the end, when we can attain headship, we will eradicate all types of defilements. This is called Samucheda Bahana, uprooting or eradicating. Another one is Pakhandana Parinisaka, entering into Nibbana. So here we can see the force of conditional formations. Our mind will enter into Nibbana. Of course, we know that our body is a conditional, right? Although we don't know nama rupas, we can easily know our body is a conditional. Now raining, if too cold, then we may feel coughing, or we will catch cold. Then in the winter also, if too cold, then we will catch cold again. So in the summer, it's too hot. Also, we are not very well. A lot of sweat. Our body become weak, and we feel very tired. Also exhausted, right? We may feel faint. So anyway, when we know the conditional formations, seeing the force of conditional formations, but that's not that easy to see the force of conditional formations, because we have very strong attachment to our body. We have also very strong attachment to right? Our conditions. So especially when we are in the good conditions, we don't need to think. We don't need to think about rising or passing away, or we don't need to think about impermanence or dukkha or anything, because it's understandable. So when we can know the momentary rising and perishing, then we will see the force of conditional formations. Because of heat, our body will change. Because of cold, our body will change. Because of thirst or hunger, our body will change. Because of insect bites or mosquito bites or snake bites, then our body will change. It's conditional. But Nibbana is unconditional. By heat also it cannot change. By cold also it cannot change. Also, by thirst or by hunger, it cannot change. Of course, when we can take Nibbana, insect also cannot bite anymore, right? No Namarupas. So that means the mind will go into Nibbana. This is called Pakandana Parinisaka. This is called, we call Parinisaka Nubasi, according to Anapanasati, for the four set of four. Okay, today we have already talked about Anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing. So we have to summarize today. So if we can overcome all types of impurity in Anapanasati, then if we can practice all the purity of Anapanasati, if we are in the right path, we can improve ourselves until we can attain jhana. One more thing we have to know. In the very beginning of Anapanasati chapter, I have already mentioned the Buddha praised Anapanasati is asatyanako, sukha, something like that, right? It's blissful, nothing to add into it. It's perfect, pure. It also can subside the defilements as soon as they arise, and so forth. Actually, there are many suttas we can find in many different Nikaya about Anapanasati. In Majjhima Nikaya, we can also find all these four set of four. Similar thing can be found in Samyutta Nikaya. We can also find in many cases, many places about Anapanasati in Khuddaka Nikaya, Digha Nikaya, and so forth. But the main thing is, Anapanasati is used by the Buddha, used by Pajjika Buddha, used by Buddha disciple. This is very easy path to follow. So we have already mentioned in the very beginning of Anapanasati, we can practice anywhere. We don't need to prepare anything. When we are practicing kasina, we have to prepare kasina circle, kasina objects. When we are going to practice asava meditation, we have to go and see the dead body, the corpse. In the case of Anapanasati, as soon as we want to focus on the breath, or we can focus on the breath, is meditation. So we can practice anywhere, anytime. We just need only one thing, willingness to practice. Then also, from time to time, many people also ask me, how long does it take to see the nimitta? I have already answered this question. It depends on our skill. We have already mentioned the wrong path, impurity. We also have already mentioned the right path, purity of breathing meditations. We also have already mentioned about the jhana, nimitta, also all the steps mentioned in Majjhima Nikaya. Also mentioned in Samanapasatika and mentioned in Parisamhita. So if we can practice very well, sure, we can attain jhana. Then based on jhana, we can also practice vipassana. So this practice is very simple. Also, most of the people like this kind of practice. We just need only natural breathing, without controlling, without forcing. We must have calmness of the mind or willingness to practice. Then if we have natural breathing, calmness of the mind, also natural focusing or natural efforts, we can improve faster. Okay, may you all be able to practice the anapanasati. Also based on that, may you all be able to practice the vipassana, and may you all be able to realize the final cessation and no suffering.
First question, dear 𝐸𝐸𝐻, what is the difference between Kaya Viraga and Achanta Viraga and Upada Nirodha and Anupada Nirodha?
Okay, so when we talk about Kaya Viraga or Upada Nirodha, for example, like now we have Namarupas, they are arising and perishing. Although it fade away, it will arise again. This is called Kaya Viraga or Upada Nirodha. So that means after perishing or fading away, it will arise again. That's why this is called Kaya Viraga or Upada Nirodha. What about Anupada Nirodha or Achanta Viraga? That means after perishing, it will never arise anymore. Like when we attain Nibbana, when we enter pre-Nibbana, no more rising on Namarupa, no more fading away anymore. Totally fading away, no more rising. This is called Achanta Viraga or Anupada Nirodha. These are like a little bit similar. Okay, next one.
Vietnamese said đó, thưa Ngài said đó, xin Ngài chỉ dạy giúp con lần đầu tiên con ngồi thiền, con chỉ biết ngồi xuống và thở một cách tự nhiên. Vietnamese said đó, when I just sit down, can you hear me said đó?
Okay, I can hear you.
Yes, said đó. So when I just sit down and I can breathe in and out naturally, and I know the breath very quiet and also very light, and sometimes I feel that like I didn't see my body, I didn't feel my body, and at the end of the sitting, and I feel very happy, very quiet in my mind. Từ lúc con biết chú tâm, and I know how to focus, how to know the doing the counting breath, and also how to focus on the breath. Chú tâm đến mũi con cảm căng cứng đau đầu. And if I focus on the breath upper lip near the nostril, and I feel the tension and heaviness and headache, so I cannot feel happy anymore. Con làm nhiều cái. So I do try many different way, like Buddha and Metta before meditation. Nhưng chỉ có hiệu quả của mình, but only effective on the first 30 minutes only, and after that, when I pay attention on the breath, and again I feel heaviness and tension, the whole body. So Vietnamese said, "Oh, may teach me how to overcome this problem and practice smoothly."
Okay, mostly in this kind of case, you may have excessive efforts. So sometimes you may use too much mental energy to know the breathing, or too much bodily energy to know the breathing. You may feel tension like that. If you can save your energy, you can overcome this problem. So briefly, you have already experienced your body disappear. You just know the breathing. This is good enough. Another one is you also have already mentioned focus around the nostril or upper lip, right? So sometimes when you focus on the touching point too much, you can also experience like that. So as long as you can know the breathing, whether you know the touching point or not, it doesn't matter. Keep knowing the breathing. You can overcome this problem. Okay?
Next question. Dear 𝐸𝐸𝐻, while I am focusing on my nimitta, there are some conditions. For example, the nimitta changed to bigger size and there is a black patch in the middle and bright around it. Or there are some images appearing in the nimitta. How should I proceed from here?
Actually, if you think about many other things, it will change. For example, in your case, bigger size, right? It comes from your perceptions. Similarly, the black patch, like in the middle is bright, right? Sorry, black patch in the middle or the bright around it. This also comes from your perceptions. So you are in your mind, you unknowingly you will create something. It will be the problem. Don't think about the size or don't think about the color. Don't think about the shape too much. It will be easier and easier to focus on it. Now, image, also the same. If you think about image, it will appear. Okay. So, okay, one more thing in your case, as long as you can know the breathing, don't think about nimitta. This is also important. When your mind naturally know the nimitta, okay, keep focus on the nimitta. Don't think about any other color, shape, locations, or anything. You can overcome this problem. Okay?
Dear Sayadaw, Suki Hontu, good evening. Please, Sayadaw's advise what's the Vachi Sankhara and how to overcome that.
Actually, Vachi Sankhara is we call Vitaka Vichara Vachi Sankhara. We have this kind of explanation. The main thing is, okay, when we recite something, right, we have to think in our mind first, and we will speak. That's why Vitaka Vichara means initial application and sustained application. These two are called Vachi Sankhara. Okay, we can understand like that.
Vanami said, somebody said that if we practice the Vipassana first and after attend Arahant and then proceed to practice Samatha to attain Jhana, so if so, it going opposite ngược lại với thiền chỉ chứ opposite with the practice Samatha first and Vipassana and based on Samatha and practice Vipassana. So Vanami said, so can Sayadaw clear this point?
Okay, so actually it's very easy to advise, right? But very difficult to practice. Okay, one more thing here. We can also do Vipassana until we can attain headship, but not that easy to attain headship. Everybody knows that one, right? If we cannot attain headship, so what shall we do? Come back to Samatha or keep practicing Vipassana whole life? Another one is it. In modern community, we don't know which subject is suitable for us. Many people misunderstand that if we like the subject, this is suitable for us. Actually, this is not truth. So if we practice Samatha, we have more choice, more options as a foundations. For example, from Anapanasati as a foundations, we can also practice Vipassana. For example, we have any or Kasina as a foundation, we can also practice Vipassana. We also have like a particular body parts, any of body part as a foundation, we can continue practicing Kasina and Vipassana. So similarly, skeleton, metta meditations, Karuna meditations, Mudita meditations. Also, we have like Ubhaka meditations. We have 10 recollections. In any recollection as a foundation, we can proceed practicing Vipassana. So we have more options, right? So that means to know our ability, we have to try many ways to attain headship. If we are skillful in one way, for example, Anapana to Vipassana, we can do this way many times. We can attain headship. Actually, we have already said one story in the very beginning of Sila, on the chapter about, especially about controlling faculties, right? Guidance sense doors. You may have already remembered that one. One bhikkhu from Anuradhapura, from the forest monastery, come to Anuradhapura for alms food. On the way, he saw a lady. The lady smiled at him. On seeing the teeth of the lady, he just recognized the skeleton meditation. He just remembered skeleton meditations. After that, he continued jhana in the very spot because he had been practicing that method very long times already. Then he can also practice Vipassana, he can attain on the spot. That means if we are expert in one Samatha subject and based on that practice Vipassana, it will be faster, easier. Actually, you can review the part about Dukkha Paripada Danda Binya, right? Practice with difficulty, sluggish attainment. When we have all these things, it comes from practicing Samatha and Vipassana, balancing two different things. Okay, so I don't recommend to practice Vipassana first, then go to Samatha. Mostly I just recommend to practice Samatha first until you have purity of the mind, then proceed Vipassana. It will be much easier, also more smooth. Okay?
Vanami said, trong khi quán at the time of the discerning the jhana dhamma of the first jhana, second jhana, and at that time the Vedana of the first jhana, second jhana is somanasa and piti in the in the five jhana factor. What's the difference between the piti in the five jhana factor and the piti in this case in the Vedana? This when discerning the old jhana dhamma. Can Sayadaw please explain?
Okay, actually, when we talk about, right, the like BT, right? BT is one of the mental factors. Then Sukha is also one of the mental factors. So it depends on the jhanas. Okay, for example, BT we associate with the first jhana, the second jhana, right? Sukha we associate with the first, second, third jhana, something like that. Anyway, the main thing is, so in the case of the fourth jhana, the feeling will arise develop with the pleasant feeling, but it will not associate with the rapture. We have already mentioned before, BT and Sukha are different. In the case of BT, like it will be like seeing the water. When we are thirsty, we may see the water. We are happy. At the time, it's like similar to BT. In the case of Sukha, like when we see the water, then we will take a shower or we may drink, right? We can enjoy. This is called Sukha. That's why these two are different. Sometimes Sukha can arise without BT, right? BT will arise together with the Sukha, right? That means Sukha is a little bit grosser. The BT is a little bit gross. Sukha is a little bit subtle. We can understand like that. Okay?
On the Sayadaw, there are 4 questions here. For a human that wish to be reborn in the Brahma world, should he 临死时有安止定 so his Marana Sana Javana must it be Abhana Jhana in order for him to be reborn in the Rupa Vachara world? So this is the first question.
Okay, so sure, it must be. And then Marana that moment, object must be jhana, absorption mind moments. Take a nimitta as object, he must attain jhana, then he can be reborn in the Brahma workshop. Okay?
Yeah. 2. For human and Kamavachara Deva, for them to be reborn in the Brahma world, they are Maranasana Javana. Are they Kamavachara Viti or Appana Jhana Viti?
Okay, so for Deva or human being, so if they are going to be reborn in the Devarams, they are that moment Javana will be Jhana Javana. Okay?
And third, for Mananasana Javana, there are 5 Chittakana for Javana. So would that include Parikama, Upachara, Anuloma, and Kotrabu? If it is Jhana Viti.
It will be a little bit different from Jhana Viti or sensual, the Kamachara Viti. Okay, so here in the case of the Jhana, it can be a very long process of Jhana. After that, there can be that moment is also possible. Okay, it will be different from Kamachara Javana. Okay?
The fourth question, for human to be reborn in the Rupa Vachara realm, Maranasana Javana, if this Maranasana Javana arises because of Karuna Brahmavihara first jhana. So how many jhana dhamma in this type of mind?
Of course, when we talk about like Karuna jhana, right? The first jhana, mostly it will be 35, right? Because Karuna is one of the mental factors. Similarly, second jhana, third jhana, so it will be a little bit different from Anapanasati because Karuna or Mudita, these are different mental factors, additional mental factors. It will be different, sure. Okay?
So about the fourth question, it means that normally there are 35 jhana namadama, but in Mananasana Javana, it happens to be in. So how many dhamma?
Actually, in Mananasana Javana also the same, right? If like a jhana, it will be 35. It also can be like that because this is Javana. On the Buddhist side, it will be different. Prana cannot associate with the right and Vibhaga Citta. That's why it will not arise in Vibhaga Citta. But for about the Javana, it can be. Okay.
Undamisiado, regarding the Anapanasati, 4 groups of 4 dhamma, the second group, 4 steps. So how to practice this in the Vipassana? So Mesiado, please briefly conclude how to practice. Is it considered Dhammanubhasti in the 4 Satipatthana? And this PT, so-called natural lakkhana, natural characteristic, and common, and this natural characteristic, 先起精, does that mean the lakhanati jatuka? And then the PT, does it include in Sankhara Khanda?
Of course, PT is from Sankhara Khanda, sure. Okay. What about, for overall, okay? I will talk about overall about Satipatthana. So when we are going to discern nama, we can start with consciousness. We're going to start with feeling. We're going to start with the contact phassa. We can start with any of these 3 in nama meditations. So in every single jhana, or not only overall, right? It can cover any types of mental process. It can be any types of the jhana. So if we just emphasize practicing in rupa, we can also know the nama, right? But our mind will focus on rupa more, right? In this case, it can be Karnubhasa Satipatthana, body contemplations. So sometimes we will emphasize focus on feeling, as we have mentioned in the second set of 4. Feeling, right? Emphasize focus on feeling. But in this case, we can also know other mental factors. Also, we can also know rupas, materialities. So, briefly, we'll focus on the first jhana. In the first jhana, the base, also materialities. The object also, if we analyze, it can be mind-brojo materialities. These are called kaya, right? If we just emphasize on these, also we also know all other nama, it will be Karnubhasana Satipatthana. So in the first jhana, there's a feeling. Emphasize focus on the feeling. We can also know all other nama dhamma. We also can know rupa dhamma. The emphasize on feeling, it can be Karnubhasana Satipatthana. Then again, in first jhana, there's also citta, consciousness. So there will be nama, there will be rupa, right? Emphasize focus on the citta. We can also know all other nama and rupas. But emphasize on citta. This is also called citta nupassana. What about dhammanupassana? We already talk about phassa. We can emphasize focus on phassa context. Also, we can also know all other nama, also rupas. It can be dhammanupassana. Okay, every single mental process, we can practice 4 foundations of mindfulness. Okay.
Undamisiado, this question is regarding the Aramanupani jhana and Lakhanupani jhana. So Aramanupani jhana, does it mean the mind absorbed into the nimitta? And Lakhanupani jhana means the mind, that means the mind and the nama, the rupa absorbed in nibbana.
Okay. Okay, so we can understand like that, right? Well, okay, so that means when we talk about Aramrupa Nijana is very clear, like only Lekanupa Nijana, right? When we understand the nature, the characteristics of ultimate reality, it can be Nama or Rupa or Nibbana. At the time, we can say Lekanupa Nijana. When our mind can absorb on it, we can say Lekanupa Nijana. Okay, sure. Done? Next one.
Vandami Shadow. The second set of 4 is Vedana Nupassana, but the 3 is Chitta Sankhara, is discerning Chitta, Sana and Vedana. Shouldn't it be Dhamma Nupassana?
Okay, so mostly in this case, we just follow the majority. Okay, as you say now in the third one is Chitta Sankhara, right? Discerning Chitta. You can also say like that. For example, Sanya and Vedana, right? Sanya is also mental factors. Vedana is also mental factors. Anyway, so there's also Vedana there, right? So previous one also feeling. That's why we just follow majority. That's why if we just say Vedana Nupassana. Actually, in every single jhana, I have already mentioned, it can be 4 foundations of mindfulness. Okay, here we can say emphasis and feeling contemplation.
Let me see, this is a question regarding Vinaya. Can Samanera chew mean eats sugar cubes in the afternoon?
Sugar cube means sugar cake?
No, sugar cane
cube
means sugar block.
Mm-hmm.
In the afternoon, can they just chew or eat a block of sugar?
Actually, we should not choose, right? We must make liquids. We must make mix it with the water and with the drink. Chewing is not really very good for ordinary person. Also, if we are unhealthy, for sure, it will be exception, right? If we are healthy enough, only make the juice and drink. Okay, next one.
Pandami Siado, can Siado briefly conclude how to practice Vipassana in the third group?
In that group.
Yeah, Chittanupasi.
I have already mentioned how to practice it, right? Okay, so you have already know how to practice this one. In the third group, already mentioned, right? For example, like a Samadhan Chitta or Cittavisuddhi, that means also emphasize focus on the Chitta and the jhana. Samadhan is the concentrated mind, right? Also can be any jhana. Emotion Chitta also can be any jhana. So briefly, entering into any jhana, imagine from it, we can practice. Right? Different perspectives, different point of view. For example, the first one is only Cittavisuddhi, focus on the Chitta consciousness. This one is this is very simple. For Samadhan Chitta, the concentrated mind, you emphasize focus on the Chitta also, but also, right? This is the jhana mind. Similarly, we also have like a Vimochaya and Chitta. So for example, I have already mentioned, the first jhana is free from hindrances, right? So also come from jhana. So okay, briefly, enter any jhana, imagine for instance, the jhana dhamma, emphasize focus on the Chitta. This is called Cittavisuddhi and so forth. Okay?
Vandami Siado. The 3 sets should be Chitta Nupassana, but it has gladdening the mind, bringing up piti. Why is it still considered as Chitta Nupassana? Because bringing up piti enlightenment factor is Dhamma Nupassana. How is this set different from the last 4 of the 4th set?
Okay. So actually, we have already talked about gladden the mind. That means to gladden our mind, we have to develop the Vidya Sambhojjhanga, Viriya Sambhojjhanga, something like that. It depends on condition we have to do it. It's not compulsory. Okay? It is not compulsory. We can also do many other ways to gladden our minds. For example, like when we talk about Vidya Sambhojjhanga, we can also do Buddhanosati, Dhammanosati, Sanghanosati, Devadanusati, Upasamasati. we can make our mind gliding by using many different methods. That is why, but just like using different methods, we can gliding our mind. We have to emphasize focus on the chitta. That's what you call chitta nupassana.
Just now, Sayadaw mentioned that to practice piti sambojjhanga in order to improve the piti. So her question is, in this reinforcement of sambojjhanga, for example, piti sambojjhanga. So how to improve it? Does that mean just by manasikara, just pay attention to improve piti sambojjhanga, or I need to do any other actions to improve piti sambojjhanga?
Okay, not quite clear, right?
Means, for example, sorry, can you hear me, Sayadaw?
Okay, I can hear you.
Yeah, for example, if she want to improve or enhance piti sambojjhanga, can she just pay attention saying that I want to improve piti sambojjhanga, or should she do any other actions?
Okay. In this case, we have already talked about how to develop enlightenment path of piti, right? There are 11 ways. So they mentioned Bodhanussati, Dhammanussati, Sanghanussati, and so forth. There are many ways to improve. Then I have already mentioned 11 ways to develop piti sambojjhanga. Okay.
Vanami Sayadaw teach us that we can focus on the natural breath only. And whenever I try to focus on the breath, and my breath become not natural again. So can Sayadaw teach me how to be natural?
This is a very complicated question, right? How to be natural? Okay. So now you are breathing. Try to know breathing now. This is natural. So if necessary, you can focus on it with open eyes. Then later, gradually you can close your eyes, keep on the breathing. So when you are breathing every day, everywhere, this is natural. So if you know everywhere, so when walking, try to know breathing normally, then you may have habits of knowing natural breathing. It will be easier, right? So natural breath can be anywhere, anytime. When you start controlling, you may feel tension. If you control too much, you may feel suffocating or chest pain. So also you cannot maintain very long time. When you have natural breathing, you can maintain very long time. As soon as you cannot maintain very well or you feel something discomfort, stop meditating. Breathe normally. Restart as a new meditator. You can overcome this problem. Okay?
Yeah, on this, how should I decide whether I really see the Anupada Nirodha, or because of concentration, I feel peaceful? How can I decide whether, okay, I reword the question, how can I decide whether the peacefulness I feel is actually Nirodha, Anupada Nirodha, or peacefulness just because of concentration? How can I differentiate these two?
Okay. So for the Anupada Nirodha, not only peaceful, it means you must know the totally cessations of Nama Rupas. So you cannot see Rupa Kalapas, you cannot know any characteristics of Nama Rupas, then you don't know any nature of Nama Rupas, you just know totally cessation. This is called Anupada Nirodha, not because of peacefulness. Okay?
Sayadaw, just now Sayadaw mentions about the example of a bhikkhu who, by seeing the teeth and practice a skeleton meditation, then finally attains arahantship. So Sayadaw says that this bhikkhu already practiced many times, that's why she can achieve this. So is there any source reference for this?
That means you can go ahead and read in Visuddhimagga, okay? Okay, one more thing. So when you see something, what do you remember? It depends on your habit. For example, when seeing an apple, right? You may know that is edible foods normally, but if you have many other memory, you will remember. your favorite things, right? So similarly, in his case, because this is his favorite objects, that's why he can go very smoothly. So in this context, we can also understand he has already practiced many times, the same path many times. That's why he can understand easily. For example, okay, now you can speak Chinese, for example, right? Long time, no practicing or no speaking Chinese. You just speaking English very long times. Now how will you feel? Or maybe you may speak English. Long time no speaking. How will happen? Right? Sometimes no, let me. You cannot speak fluently as before. It can happen like that. So, okay, one more thing. Here, in this case, we can understand habitual practice. We can understand naturally habitual practice. There are many stories like that. When seeing a corpse, they can take attitude. Normally, we have already seen many corpses, many dead bodies. We cannot attain anything. That means we don't have habit of that kind of practice. Okay? So when reading the process, he attain headship, we can understand it's his habit. His habitual practice. Okay?
If I before meditation, I have a lot of wandering thoughts. So if I practice 32 body parts, wandering thoughts will be reduced and the concentration will be a bit better. So he would like to ask, in the 32 body part, can I just practice the first 5 parts?
Okay, sure. Yeah. Just for short time practice, you can also use only the first 5 or only the first 2 or 3 also, it doesn't matter. When you can calm down your mind, you should go back to previous practice, right? It's okay.
Vandami Sayadaw, Suki Hontu, good evening. Please, Sayadaw, advise why the skeleton moving in my mind when practice Asubha meditation and how to overcome that. Is it true we must have a teacher for that object?
Okay. So in this case, the moving is actually your perception make that one. When your perception is moving, you just think that the one is moving, it will move, right? So it's taken by your perceptions. So anyway, if you have proper teacher nearby, it will be more beneficial, more useful. Also, you can also ask any times. So actually, when you are going to study the meditation subject, there are some tips to learn. In the case of Asubha meditations or the 32 body parts, we have already mentioned how to study in detail, right? For example, like Bible recitations, mental recitation, and so forth. There are many different steps. If you can follow all these steps, you can overcome this problem.
Dear Sayadaw, please explain the meaning of access concentration and absorption concentration in Burmese. I was always interested and enthusiastic to meditate when I was busier. However, I have to force myself to meditate for the last 2 weeks, even though I have a lot more free time. What can I do to gain my enthusiasm again?
Oh, well, I have to explain in Burmese, right? Okay, first I should explain in English, right? So access concentration, we also say like a neighborhood concentration. That means it's very close to jhana. That's what we call access concentrations. It will be a little bit like similar to jhana, the first jhana absorption states, but we cannot balance controlling faculties very well. That's why not so strong. That means we can fall into Bhanga state anytime. It will be a little bit different from absorption concentration. In the absorption concentration, we can balance controlling faculties. This is one thing, right? So another one is intrinsic, right? Intrinsic. This means actually sometimes you have to know the value of practice. So for example, when you are going to practice anapanasati, you must know the value of anapanasati. Then you have more willingness to practice. It's also important. So there are many benefits, right? But this is okay. I'm just Now I will say in, this come from Myanmar people, maybe, right? Myanmar yogi. I will say in Burmese, right? So, Dima, Upasara Tamari ne, Apana Tamari lo kore. Upasara Tamari soda, Zan and then Nisa de Tamari. Alamu, Upasara to get out, Aya Upasalo, Biodromio, Ainen, Aya Chawang or Aya Upasalo Korani, Ebonam Yove, Zane, Nisa de Tamari Myogo, Upasara Tamari lo kore. Hello, a second concentration in Lokora, no? Hello, so the lemon is looking. Upasara Tamari a Kaitama. Yuna de Qualime, Zangari, Agounime, Pamelo, in the day, Nina or Machan, Buenjana. Abanaso, Kadamanjaro, in the day, Nina, Buenjana. Buensora, no, the Iomadijare, 8 Dolamu, 8 Kazamu, no? Second logo, Balacha Dolamu, Amu, the Buense the Core, or the Buense Iona, Tamaluri Matanjara Hugo, no? So, Janaro, Iomatanjara, Chinny to Yabarade. Amu Buenjara loco, no? Hello, I'll show the in the day, Nina Machin and Edre, Davi, Upsala Kaitaman of Yolo Yare. Never Kamatango Ayo, Kamatango 7 hours solution, no? Kamatanya Tambo and Halebule. Uma Anabana Atomesoin, Anabana ye Soin that you, Nale Tabulure, to your conjure, Nale Tabulure. Uma, Anabana Atolomoya, Jamai Kauna some machine, that's should I no? Not a Kua, Tria Boganame, Janet. Kamatan change a conjure the Doromia with solution, Kamatan 7 salime. As in course, I will be Tatan Lalime. Say a Tatan solution of the Jade. Kamatan a Joe Nalema, Kamatan conjure will go on Vitama, who 7 salime, Bolet Tatan. Arabo Yejide, no? So you know, Yamalo solution or charity Bovare, who do Mago, Yamalo Yet out in Yashide. No, Kamatan conjure, young Shakajila. Lolo Sega and Badalime, no? Not okay, next one.
Dear 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸, when we practice kasina meditation, how long do we have to look at the kasina object before closing our eyes? Do we have to look at the kasina object until we can clearly visualize it easily? Can 𝐸𝐸𝐸 also explain about parikamma nimitta?
Okay. In the case of kasina, sure. In the very beginning, we have to open eyes and try to see the kasina objects until we can visualize it clearly. We close eyes and try to visualize. If we cannot see clearly, open eyes, try it again, right? So, okay, briefly, as you ask here, until we can visualize clearly and easily, we have to open our eyes. Try many times, close eyes, visualize. If you're gonna do open eyes like this. What about parikamma nimitta? The natural object is also called parikamma nimitta. For example, in the case of earth kasina, the natural earth, natural soil is also called parikamma nimitta. This is originally parikamma nimitta, right? Only for ogha nimitta, sure, there is some force of kasina. Then this is called parikamma, this is called ogha nimitta, and so forth. Okay?
Dear 𝐸𝐸𝐸, in the Visuddhi Magga, it is mentioned that when practicing kasina, we must keep our eyes open moderately, as if we were seeing the reflection of our face on the surface of a looking glass. Can 𝐸𝐸𝐸 also explain about this?
Okay. So that means when you look at your reflection on the mirror, on the looking glass, we just open normally, right? Similarly, when we are going to see the kasina objects, we must see normally. Don't open very widely or don't close your eyes, right? Normal, just normal walking, normal looking. This is the meaning of the explanations. Okay?
I think this question have been answered also regarding the Mananasana Javana. If someone reborn in the Brahma world, so the Mananasana Javana, does that include Parikamma Upachara Anuloma Kotrapu and one Javana, or what type of
okay, no.
GBT
Okay.
for Mananasana Javana?
Actually, okay, in this case, we have to talk about that one, right? So in this mental process, we have to know Parikamma Upachara Anuloma. After that, there can be many Javana mind moments after the death moment. In the case of the jhana, we cannot say fix 5 mind moments, okay? We cannot say fix 5 javanas. This is jhana, it can be more than 5, okay?
Dear 𝐸𝐸𝐸, a meditator is able to discern to the future and see the complete cessation of nama rupa in his future life. If he is not a noble person yet, how can he be able to see this complete cessation? Could 𝐸𝐸 explain the logic of this?
Okay, actually, this is the power of inside knowledge. Okay, we can understand the power inside knowledge. So that means actually we have to discern future existences, right? Although we are not noble person yet, we can also know disappearing or total cessations of nama rupa in the future. For example, after death, but now, okay, when we discern future, we have to follow nama rupas process. So when we finish this life nama rupa process, then there will be the first future life. Just discern nama rupa future life until the death moment. Then there will be that's the second future life, something like that. Finally, there is no more arising of nama rupas. This is also called total cessations. So although we haven't attained nama rupas yet, we can know. We haven't attained hadashit yet. We can also know no more arising of nama rupas. Although we are not noble persons. This is called anubhada nirodha. We can understand anubhada nirodha in this way. Okay.
Has the Buddha ever mentioned about releasing life? Is there any benefit by releasing life? And is it how to release life is appropriate? How to appropriately release life?
We cannot say releasing life, right? It will be similar to maybe suicide, right?
No, releasing life means releasing those like animals who are in captivity,
okay.
Release life. Yeah.
Okay. Releasing animal, right? Okay. Anyway, releasing life or other living beings. Okay. So, okay, in this case, we have to consider, right? Is it really useful or not? Sometimes, they just, that there are some people, they sell the fishes, for example. Then when we release, some fish are dying. Some fish were dying, right? So in this case, we have to consider, is it useful or not? It depends on how wise we are. If we are really having the living beings, okay, we can release life. It will be meaningful, right? It depends on our minds. We can say it's a good and bad.
Yes, 𝐸𝐸. About the 5 jhana factors, is there any difference between access concentration and absorption concentration?
Okay, so it will be the same. The 5 jhana factors will be strong in both access concentration and absorption concentrations. But then they are also powerful enough to overcome the hindrances. It will be the same. But for example, in the 4th jhana, in the case of jhana factors, it will be different because no more piti. In the 4th jhana, it will be different. For other things, it will be the same.
During the practice of Buddhanusati, should it be the contemplation of 10 quality of the Buddha or just one quality? Which one is more easier? Or is it based on different individual?
Okay, sure. If you can do only one characteristic or one quality for one sitting, is much better. But in the very beginning, you can try many other qualities. Then you can choose the best one, the strongest one for you. You can do whole sitting. Okay.
𝐸𝐸, this is the last question. Dear 𝐸𝐸, when practicing kasina, if I close my eyes, I see black, but I can remember the kasina object a little bit. Is this normal? Are we supposed to focus on the memory of the kasina object?
So if not very easy, you cannot say the memory of kasina objects. You must prepare kasina object practically, right? For example, in the case of white kasina, you have to prepare white cloth or white paper, something like that. Then you have to see it with your open eyes. Then try to visualize it. It will be more beneficial or more meaningful. So sometimes only memory is not that powerful. Okay. Cittavisuddhi 𝐸𝐸 sambadam punya sambadam sabbe deva numodantu sabbe buddha numodantu Sabbe Satta Numodantu Sabba Sampati Siddhya Idam Me Nyatinam Hodu Sukhita Hontu Nyatayo Idam Me Nyatinam Hodu Sukhita Hontu Nyatayo Idam Me Nyatinam Hodu Sukhita Hontu Nyatayo Idam Me Punyam Asawakaya Waham Hodu Idam Me Punyam Nibbanasa Pachayo Hodu Mama Punya Bhagam Sabba Satanam Vajemi Te Sabbe Me Samam Punya Bhagam Labandu Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu